very good afternoon and welcome to the Grand Hotel in Brighton. It's big time boxing back on the south coast as Harlem Eubank headlines a huge event, Bloodline, live on Channel 5 this Friday. It's a major card for all sorts of reasons, so we brought in boxing royalty to discuss it with us. Barry Jones, as ever, very good afternoon, so welcome to yourself.
No, glad to be here.
What an event. It's Eubank back in Brighton.
Yeah, well, Eubank, Brighton, well, that's where he should be, of course. And it's a different Eubank this time. It's Harlem, the nephew. And I think it's been a revelation. I think he's learned his trade the hard way. But in the shadows, if you will. He hasn't really used his name to catapult himself up to the highest echelons yet. But he's getting there. And I think he's learned his apprenticeship really good. He's an all-rounded fighter. And he's just on that verge now of stepping up to that next level. And this test on Saturday, Friday I should say, will tell us all we need to know about him.
It is the toughest test today. One man who knows him better than most, Dan Morley, good afternoon, welcome to yourself. Former training partner of Harlem, of course, pro boxer yourself, good afternoon. What do we need to know about Harlem ahead of this Friday?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I mean, I trained with Harlem for 3 years and he's a handful. I can tell you that from all the rounds I sparred with him. But kind of seconding what Barry said, he's despite having that Eubank name, he's built his name the hard way. He's taken risky fights, and even in the gym, going into training with Adam Booth and Charlie Beaton H, he was in with top fighters from the get-go, and he's shown a lot of grit and resiliency and skills to just get through. And having sparred him time and time again, he's a very gritty fighter, but very versatile. And I think this is another gradual step up for him on his way to the top.
I think he's one of those fighters that, very few fighters benefited from lockdown. I think he's one of those who did. He had a good win just prior to that against McDonough, of course. But I think the Egbeniki fight was a really good test for him, and I have favoured Egbeniki to get the win. I did, to be honest. It was up in Doncaster in a little in a massive
I remember it well.
Yeah, it was like it just closed up. It was weird. It was just like an aircraft hangar, pretty much. And he boxed so well. Like, he has lovely movement, and I think the movement's important. But knowing when to move, why you're moving, where you're moving to, just being able to move is great. But without any thought behind it, you're just wasting energy. He moves a lot, but he always puts himself in the right place. He's moving for a reason, for the rest, to set up an attack, to make you miss, to make you pay. And because he's had those hard tests on the way up, and he has, and he's learned through those, and he's learned his trade properly without any pressure or stress. I think now he's getting to a point where he's almost as complete as he could be.
One thing he may not thank me for bringing up, I always kind of find myself speaking to him about this in interviews, is the fact that he's shown us different styles of victories. He's able to end the show early, the same show that you last boxed on, Dan, against Sean Dodd, where he got the job done early. But he's also had to overcome adversity. There was fights where he's had to overcome illegal knockdowns, or he's been taking the distance, and he's been able to showcase that kind of skill set as well. He's a very versatile fighter.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, he's displayed so much grit, not in just the ring, but in the gym. And I sparred Egbeniki before as well, 2 fighters I knew well. And going into that fight, I knew that was going to be a tricky one. And, sparring with Harlem going into that, he sort of brought a more of aggressive style into the sparring. But as you say, box on his toes, move lovely, hard to hit. So very versatile.
And boxing, I like moving up in levels, it's all ticking boxes. Chin check. Resilient in wall of attrition. So you've got the minerals, as they say, to go through a hard fight. Or for punches, when you hit a guy and he doesn't fall over for the first time, how are you going to react to that? All things that having easy fights don't tell you about. So you don't want to get to the highest level and then not have those questions asked and answered. You want to get on your way up. And Harlem's been quite fortunate where he's had those, fortunate and also difficult, but he's had those little tests of adversity in all those little areas where he's had to overcome those, and what that does for you as well, it opens your mind, it gives you the knowledge, so you're able to think while you're fighting, and be able to think what you're doing in the ring, not just go through your repertoire of skills, not just go through muscle memory, having to adapt while you're in the ring. When you get to a higher level, when you get to that real top championship level, that's what's the difference.
Let's talk about the idea of coming to Brighton, because Harlem said he wanted fights that built his name. We know he's got the Eubank name. We can talk about Chris Senior joining the team in a moment, but the fact that it's in Brighton, he wants to fight, in his words, in front of his own people. What does that do for you, Barry, when you come back to your hometown?
But it's everything, because you want to put on a show, because you want to build a fan base, so people need you need a connection. People want to go, well, we want to see him, so they want to see you for the name Eubank. But with Brighton as well, having such a long history with the Eubanks, then you think they will adhere to that more. But it's an added pressure with that. There's an air of expectation. People will come and watch you who don't really follow boxing as much, or don't just follow you. So they just expect you to win. It's like you're selling tickets. All your mates think you're going to win.
Yeah.
They don't understand that it's a real fight. So you have to think, I can't afford to lose it. But you need that pressure. If you're going to get to the top or anywhere near the top, if you can't cope with pressure, however physically good you are at your sport, it's so much of a mental exercise as it is physical. If you can't deal with the pressure, then you're not the fighter to be boxing at championship level. So you be at home, you get the crowd, it spurs you on in hard fights. You need that, but also there's this pressure of expectation, which I've seen fighters in the past crumble under.
Dan, speaking about Harlem as a person, the ticket sales would certainly indicate he's going to be doing it in front of a lot of friends and family, but a lot of hometown support as well. Do you think he'll be the kind of fighter to rise above that, be able to shut the noise out?
I mean, he's so mentally strong. Just what he's had to go through, just in his life, but also instances in the gym. When Eubank was fighting Liam Williams, there's just stuff has arisen for Harlem, and he's got one of the most sound, almost bulletproof mindsets that I've seen in the game, even just with his work ethic. So he's completely driven and focused, and I can see him thriving off it, if I'm honest with you. And as I've already said, as we both touched upon, he's made his name the hard way, and now it's time to thrive. He's done the hard work. Now it's time to get his name out there, especially in Brighton.
He's openly said this is the toughest test today. He's openly said that this guy's fought higher level opposition than I have. Barry, when you're going into that kind of fight and that's in your mind, how does it affect your game plan?
Well, again, these are the fights. Again, I talk like I touched on just now. I think that this is where the mental aspect comes in. You know this is your hardest test. You have to steel yourself for it. But you should want that. You want that test. You should welcome that test, but also be aware that any mistake you make, you'll pay the price. You'll be punished for it. So with that in mind, it should steal your focus and make you a better fighter, and put on a better spectacle. So I think that's what it is with him. And coming to Brighton, I would say that. It's great because boxing for the last sort of 15 years has been London, Manchester, Liverpool, all big cities, and going around the country reminds me of the 90s when I was boxing, where you get shows in Brighton, Cardiff, some random places where no one would go. Bournemouth recently, and look how well attended that was. There was a show there recently, so twice I should say. So Brighton has this potential to be a little bit of a base for Harlem, and I hope it works out for him on Friday.
And I just wanted to touch upon taking your toughest test. It's what you want to do as a fighter. It's how you improve, and ultimately from experiences where I had my hardest fights, it would instill that fear in you, and that fear makes you work that much harder. You know that there's a danger. I almost just get more nervous boxing journeyman where there's more pressure. You know what I mean? So I feel he's going to thrive here. It's a good test. Schwarzkopf is seasoned, been in with good fighters, and there's a natural step up.
Well, like a stick of Brighton rock, I think if you're to break Harlem Eubank in half, you'd see Brighton go right through him. Aside from Harlem, there's other big names on the card. We're going to have one on it in just a moment. Lerone Richards, back on the scene. He signs a deal with Wasserman, straight into the action this Friday. Barry, what kind of fighter do you expect to see from Lerone?
Well, Lerone's a guy who's at the mature. So I think he got criticised for the lack of power, but didn't get praised for his ability that he has. He has a real good boxing brain. He's technically very good. He does the basics really well, which makes him a really hard fighter to beat. His fundamentals are sound, but he has power. It's just about holding your feet at the right place at the right time. I think now he's a bit older, a little bit more mature. He has the potential to go very, very far. I just think for him, it's been the stop-start. He had a great 2021 and then didn't box for all of 2022, I don't believe. He beat Gongora and he beat the Caloris, who's boxing for the European title in a minute. So they're two really good wins, and he should have really built his capitalised off that and be fighting for bigger honours. But he's back. I think he's back now. It'll only take a fight to get back into it, and I think there'll be big names there he'll be targeting. And on paper, he's a test for anybody.
Well, he's back is the perfect way to phrase it, because he is back. He's going to come in and join us now. Lerone Richards, thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon. Welcome to Brighton. Iconic Grand Hotel. What an arrival, what an entrance. It's great to have you at Team Was. How are you feeling?
I feel great. Yeah, it's very windy today. Yeah, I feel good. I'm looking forward to Friday night.
I just want to speak to you about when we had our chat the other week over in the gym shoot there, and you were saying we're going to see a new Lerone. I mean, Barry touched on it there about the number of knockouts against the number of victories.
Yeah.
I think you were sort of alluding to maybe we're going to start ramping that number up now. Is that a fair comment? Is that something that you're looking to bring to your game?
Yeah, it's all about experience, and it's all about experience. And I've had 17 fights now. I've won a few titles, and it's about showing something new.
I think it's important that you to sell yourself, and nowadays more than any, it's about markability. But you can't forget what you do well.
Absolutely.
That's the thing about you. You're so skillful that you want to be more impressive. But you want to show more power, and you have it, and you've shown it in stages. But you can't lose what you got.
That's right, yeah. You know, obviously I'm with Grant Smith now, and when I first went to Grant Smith, he said to me, "You're great at what you do, so I'm not going to change you, but what I can do is add."
Yeah.
So on Friday, you're going to see the addition to what I usually do.
Dan, we were talking about mindsets of fighters a moment ago. One thing I love about Lerone is he's very mature. He's very sort of doesn't man a few words, but gets the job done effectively and efficiently. Do you think he can transition that into the fight game when we're talking about world title fights and moving up to those levels?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, so it sounds weird saying it here, but he's got a very tricky style, very good. You see it with fighters even at the highest level, like Guillermo Rigondeaux, another fighter, excellent skills, but just, you know, it's not necessarily couldn't get the big fights, but was just so difficult to face. So yeah, I think, you know, you just got to keep sticking what you're good at, and yeah, like you say, he's going to add that little bit more to it now, and yeah.
What kind of opportunity is this on Friday, Lerone?
Sorry?
What kind of opportunity is this for you? Get yourself back on the screens, get yourself back on the big time.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for me to show my skills and show everyone that I'm back with a bang, and that's what I plan on doing.
You're back, but with what intention? We all want to be a world champion.
Right.
But do you have a realistic goal in sort of say the next 18 months?
You know, Barry, I've been inactive in my time,
and
now it's time to get busy, and get active, and then get these big fights in the next year.
Let's be truthful. You know, the Caralis and Gongora in 1 year. That's a fantastic year. But that puts you on the fringe of world level there straight away to me. So you looking to get straight back into that mix, or you want to start building back towards there, or just think that's where I'm at anyway now?
That's what I plan on doing. You know, I'm one of the best fighters in the world, and
there you go. Say that more often.
I love that. I love that mentality. That's the right way to be.
I've proven it, and it's about time now that I start getting noticed. And on Friday night, that's where it starts.
I was going to say, in regards to the marketability side of it as well, you're humble. I had a similar problem. I didn't want to talk about myself, but I see fighters again, similarly like Erislandy Lara.
Yeah.
He, you know, not necessarily an active, but couldn't get the big fights, and then he started calling people out. Canelo, you know. I guess it's just finding that balance in a sense.
But you know what? I'm a realist. I'm not going to start calling out Canelo. You know, why is Canelo going to fight Lerone Richards? It's about me fighting the contenders. And getting myself in position so that I'm the next in line.
And you also have good names domestically, who are either world level or fringe world level for you to obviously get. And if you want to build a name for yourself without having to show from the rooftops, domestic clashes, as we've seen throughout the years, is the way forward.
That's right, and obviously now with this Channel 5 platform, we'll be able to do that.
Lerone, are you in the stage of your career, do you think, where rather than coming on here and saying into the camera, I want this fight, I want this domestic fight, I want this, are you in the stage now where people know who you are, they know what you're about, and you're better, and if they don't, they can have a look at the belt collection, and that will tell them.
Yeah.
You let them do the call, let social media do the calling out for you. They want to see you in against these, you know, we were speaking about it a couple of weeks ago in the gym, you know, the domestic names that you mentioned at the moment, it's John Ryder sitting at the top of that pile. Let social media, rather than you coming on here saying, John, you're next, let social media do that, because it will. That's what it does so well.
You know, throughout when I first started my career, it was about developing and being the best I can be. And obviously I picked up some good belts, and I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'll get my shot. And when I get my shot, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, that's it. It's just consistency. As you say, those domestic names, you get in there and you keep beating them, you keep knocking on the door. They can't ignore you. So, yeah, all in the consistency.
That's it.
Barry, I see Lerone, and I see there's a dangerous fighter in there. They say a happy fighter being a dangerous fighter, and he looks very calm.
He's always smiling.
No, that's not the case when he gets in the ring, and we get down to business.
He's got a good resume. Lennox Clark was a really good win, I think, and that obviously that aged better as he went on, of course. But
absolutely,
it's just need momentum. That's all he needs. He just needs to be busy as he possibly can be. He might have to take fights at not say the begging ball as such, but you might have to take fights with realising that that's maybe a bigger name, but you take the leap of faith. But the ability wise, he's good enough to mix it with almost everybody, I would say, in his division. It's a tough division, but it's not quite wide open, but I do think it's going to start there's going to be more gaps appearing, I think, in the next 12 months. And that might give Lerone now, if he can get his skates on and get a couple of fights really quickly, that'll put him in a really good position to maybe sneak in one of those gaps.
Let me put to you direct, Lerone, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What does a big statement knockout win do for you on Friday? Given that it's on Channel 5, given that it's on such a platform, given that it's on a major show like this one, big knockout win comes along, what does it do for you?
Oh, people will be like, that's not Lerone Richards. There's no way. But yeah, it'll be good for me, and it's good for my team, and it will show all the hard work I put in.
But that's not the case, though, because you can punch.
Oh, yeah, but you know
it's just getting the balance right, holding your feet and
yeah, do you know what? A lot of people say...
You're trying to lure people
at my
in.
record and they say, "Oh, I can't punch," but I can hit. I hit very hard. But it's whether someone's brave enough, really.
I wanted to ask as well, obviously with the inactivity, like knowing how good you are.
Yeah.
And has it almost driven you in a sense where you really want to get out there and prove it, and now seems to be the platform to spring from that?
No, I've stayed very relaxed. I know what I need to do. I'm ultimate professional, and I always knew that this time will come, and the time is on Friday.
How easy was it for you to make the decision to join Wasserman?
Very easy. Wasserman, Nissa, Kala, they've had good experience with super middleweights.
yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously you got lots of Mikkel Kessler. They worked with George Groves for a bit. Arthur Abraham,
Put a few little tournaments, of course, haven't they?
Yeah. So
they know a thing or two.
Yeah, so they know what they're doing, and they're going to get me to that world title.
When that conversation came around, was it a quick decision in your mind? I will speak, I'm a company man, I will speak for Wasserman all day long, but for you, was it, I see the stable growing, this is where I want to be?
What I liked was they had the vision that I had, and we're going to push forward, we're going to push towards that. Yeah.
And it all starts on Friday night.
That's right, yeah.
Well, Lerone, we're going to let you mark up and start getting ready. I'm sure there's plenty of media already coming to you this week.
Yeah, it's good to see you anyway, yeah.
Thank you very much, Lerone Richards.
Cheers.
It's a big
Cheers,
fight
Lerone.
on Friday night. It kicks off with Lerone Richards. Thank you. Speaking to Lerone for a moment there, we can't wait to see him back out.
Yeah, he's just, again, like we were saying to him there, and he understands that. He just needs to stay as busy as he can possibly be. He's a talented fighter. He's at a good weight, which I do think in the world scene, he will start breaking up a little bit anytime soon. And if he can get himself around that level, back to around that level where he was in 2021, then he may be able to sneak in and get a shot. But also domestically, there's world class fighters domestically at his level, at his weight, where if we can get those matchups, that'll do great for either one of their profiles. But if he wins and he's capable of beating anyone on his day, then it gives him a massive profile to push on to bigger and better things.
And I guess in a sense, it's just your actions have to speak louder than your words. He's a very humble man. And as Barry just touched upon there, the domestic scene in that division is absolutely stacked. If you just stay consistent, get those big fights and keep beating people, you don't need to talk. Look at someone like Triple G. He never used to talk or give it the big one, but he got the big fights. Just keep him busy taking those fights and let the skills pay the bills. You don't necessarily need to change your personality. It's just all in the consistency.
Well, he was very quick to name the likes of Mikkel Kessler, Arthur Abraham, some of the giant names that of course have worked with Team Sauerland and Wasserman Boxing over the years. But going to the other end of the table now, we speak about the giants of boxing. They all start somewhere. They all make a debut, and also on this card this Friday, you see the little segue I've made there. I want to bring in Tom Welland, who will be making his debut this Friday. And what a stage to do it on, Tom. Very good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. What a stage, what a statement. Start with the obvious question. Mate, how you feeling?
Obviously, the nerves starting to kick in now. It's starting to be a bit more surreal than what it's talked about. But obviously, what a card to make a debut on. Obviously, live on Channel 5, you can't ask for much better, really.
When, again, the similar sort of question, but when you start making the mindset, the decision to, I'm going to go pro, this is now realistic. When you first start boxing, maybe that seems a mile away, but then you start doing this where, okay, I'm going to make this step. Just talk to us about that transition. When did you realise I'm going to do it?
Obviously, it does seem a mile away, but really, I've only been boxing 5 years myself, so it's not a big time period. But when you first put a pair of gloves on and you're learning the craft and you're learning the basics, you sort of think I'm a million miles away. But all of a sudden, it does creep up on you, and especially if you start making success and you start making a name for yourself, all of a sudden, all the promoters are on you. Everyone wants to sign you. Everyone wants to talk to you about going over. But all you got to do is keep your feet on the ground and just weigh up your options, and you've got to look at your amateur pedigree. You've got to look at what division you could be going into as a pro. But not only that, you've got to look at is it realistic? Is it something you want to do? Because you've got to dedicate your life to it. You've got to make the weight. It's your job to make the weight. And obviously you've got all the media obligations and everything else. If you can't sit in front of a camera, then it's going to be a bit hard for you. But
that's the thing, especially for nowadays, is how you get the balance right. Because you have to sell yourself. You have to show something that other prospects, everyone, you're all good turning pro, and you're all good kids. But you have to show something. This is why you should watch me, because I'm different. Yeah. Whether it's with your mouth or with your words or with your feet or your hands, whatever you do, whatever costumes, whatever it is, you have to stand out from the crowd. But you have to also remember what got you here in the first place. I always tell all young kids turning pro that is the need to impress is there, but do what you do well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Especially in your debut, it's always about, sometimes you rush your work trying to over-impress.
Yeah, 100%.
Be a scrappy fight. I did it. A lot of us do it. It's just, you're a talent, you know the box.
Yeah.
Talented amateur.
Yeah.
So it's just about just getting in there, taking your time. You've got more time than you think. And with that, your boxing brain, because you were a top class amateur, the boxing brain, you'll see stuff, and then you go to work. That first round, we all want to get the knockout in the first round, but literally, if you just have a good look, take your time, remember, I know how to box. I've been boxing all my life. Then it's more impressive.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I think that, and it's an exciting time for you as well. And I don't you envy him?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the best time ever, because and for you, it's just do that. You make just do the basics well. That gets you so far. Try and sell yourself the best you can, and stay busy. You cannot fight enough.
This is the thing that especially when I talked to my manager Lee about activity, and I said to him, look, I was a very busy amateur. Last year, my last season as an amateur, I had 20 fights in a season. I was fighting every other weekend, sometimes two or three fights in a weekend. So for me going over as a pro, don't get me wrong, obviously you have camps and you're in and out of the gym. But for me, doing 4-6 rounders, I want to be out as much as possible. Like, I'm hoping to get 2 this year, and then I'm hoping to have a strong start to next.
Yeah.
And just to be as active as possible, get the rounds in my belt and make a name for myself, really.
Sorry, I think the first thing I was just going to say, first of all, let's let the people see, just to get you around a little bit. But listen, one thing I had to, we couldn't let you go before we speak to you is I just want to talk about your heritage, Mom, because that led to a huge shout out. Yeah. Okay, you know what I'm referring to before I even bring up. I won't take your light. You tell us what happened there.
So my mum is from the Philippines, so I'm half Filipino myself, and I did go and box for the Philippines. I went and boxed for the Filipino Olympic squad, which obviously Manny Pacquiao has a big influence on, and obviously everyone looks up to Manny Pacquiao. He's a national idol everywhere in the Philippines. Maybe not even just in the Philippines. Obviously for the boxing community, he's an idol for everyone, really. And then obviously for I think the 28th of October, Fury and Ngannou in Saudi Arabia. Obviously they had a big.
Heard about it,
obviously they had a big sort of legends reunion. He was in Saudi, and I ended up getting a message from Manny Pacquiao wishing me luck and wishing me good health. So
how good is that?
Oh mate, I nearly fell over.
Yeah,
I nearly fell over.
He wouldn't even shake. I was out in Saudi. He wouldn't even shake my hand.
Really?
I'm joking. He wouldn't speak to me.
Don't do that to my idol.
You're getting a shout out, man. No, that's amazing. That's just like, if that can't spur you, if that can't give you a lift, what can?
100%.
That's just something.
It's just to be acknowledged.
That's an all-time great.
For my name to come out of his mouth was just incredible. Like, it was something that I never thought I'd see today. Never thought I'd see it happen. And when it landed in my inbox, I nearly fell over. Like, I did nearly faint. I went a bit queasy. So.
And speaking of Manny, just the Filipino fan base. How, if you can get those guys behind you, you're going to be able to fly. I mean,
hopefully. I mean, obviously, you need support to make a name for yourself, and to get a whole country behind you, like Manny Pacquiao did, and to go back and almost go into politics, have that much of a fan base, then, I mean, you're laughing. You're absolutely laughing in terms of where it can take you. So. And
you very rarely get, a Filipino fighter who's not exciting to watch. No pressure. Benito Donaire was one of the best fighters, of his generation. It was great to watch, and Manny Pacquiao was always, never in a dull fight. So
Well, I mean, even now you've got Filipino fighters coming through. People like Yumi Martial, who's had 2 or 3 over in the States for Showtime, and there was so many good Olympians. Carlo Parlam. There's so many coming out of the Philippines at the moment. It is a lot to live up to, but obviously. It's a fighting country. You're going to get so many good prospects coming out of the Philippines. So to try and separate myself and make myself look even more special, obviously it does put more pressure on my shoulders. But diamonds are made under pressure, so we'll see what happens.
That's right.
I was going to say, talking about that style, how do you feel like, because you've got quite an exciting style, how do you feel like that's going to translate to the pros, where you can, you've got the longer rounds and you can plant your feet a little bit more and just work away? How do you think that would translate?
I think it suits me down to the ground, to be honest. I think as an amateur, it was all far too much. too quick. It was too fast paced.
Yeah.
You never really had time to set a trap and then to spring it. It was always very rushed. But obviously, as a pro, especially leaning into sort of 6, 8s, 12s, you always have more time to set a trap and you have more time to look for a perfect shot, which it suits me down to the ground. I was always a bit, not ploddy, but I was always a bit slow. I was always used to like setting a trap and then executing it lovely. So I think it will suit me down to the ground. I do think Friday night you'll be able to see my transition from amateur to pro.
You've got plenty of time to work that body as well,
100%.
chip away your opposition.
Tom, we can't wait to see this debut. We can't wait to see this career, and I know Manny Pacquiao will be watching as well.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to catch up with you throughout the week, of course. We'll let you, I mean, I've seen all the media already wanting to speak to you. I'm sure there's many more. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Through the week.
Cheers, thank you.
We are
awesome.
live in Brighton. Did you know the hotel that staged Quadrophenia? Hollywood royalty.
One of my favourite films, Quadrophenia. I even had the album. You would know what albums are, you youngsters.
Mate, I was on the back of the Lambretta, don't you worry.
Because it's big time boxing. It's back in Brighton. It's Eubank Schwarzkopf. I just want to speak, by the way, to Tom Welland and Lerone Richards. Brilliant. But I want to speak about the Eubank name. Let's bring it back to that moment. We spoke about, has he used the name? Has the Eubank name propelled him up? Well, if it didn't before, it certainly is now. Chris Eubank Senior joining the ranks. Barry, what does that do for a profile, having a name of such magnitude in your camp?
Especially in the UK, you know, the Eubank is still one of the biggest names in British boxing history. We see that wherever he goes. You know, Chris Eubank Jr. has really benefited from that, of course. But there's a pressure there, and I know Chris is part of the team. There'll be an added pressure, but also he'll get that profile, he'll get that push up, and more people will take notice. I mean, he has that Eubank name, so there's always an ear up when you hear the name. But he hasn't really dined out in it. He hasn't pushed as much as he could have and probably should have, to be honest, because he wanted to learn his trade.
Yeah.
And you have to admire that. But I do think that he's at a stage now where he's good enough. You know, he's at championship level now. So I think he needs all the help he can get to make it a little bit more of a difference. He's on a great platform on Channel 5. He'll get good viewers. But with Chris Senior in his camp as well, I think that will just add that extra little bit of interest where more people will tune in, expecting a Eubank type performance. And when I would say when Harlem is at his best, when he does shine, if you give him the ability to shine, he's a really good watch. So people will want to see him.
I feel like it's the perfect time. As you say, he's built his career sort of under the radar, but the hard way, you know. And he's, as you said earlier, he's almost like, you're never a complete fighter until you get to the very, very top. He's almost learned everything he can do in the ring.
As complete as he can be.
Yeah, as complete as he can be, yeah. And now it's time to really propel. You've got the Eubank Ben, all of that stuff going on at the moment. It's huge. So having that name and being in and around the weight as well as those guys is going to... I mean, even I've noticed just as a fan watching Harlem's name, and I've known him very well, you just see him so much more these days. The promotion is excellent.
We had both the fellas in the office the other week for a media day. Sat down and spent some time with both of them, and Chris Senior was quite keen to say, look, I'm here to do some talking with Harlem, because Harlem, he called him a softie in terms of his media presence and in terms of his talking. He's very laid back and very calm. But then he referred to him as the same kind of fighter. I mean, that's quite big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. Like, you just see it in fighters' eyes. You'd know it, and just as I keep touching upon it, but just being in that environment he's been in and how he's thrived, because the sparring is hard in that gym.
I was going to say that because you mentioned about the sparring. He doesn't spar the way he fights. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, he's a real handful in sparring. I say almost like a Henry Armstrong kind of fighter, on your chest, throwing you around, just doing not a dirty fight, but just using all of those tricks. Absolute nightmare to spar. He's moved my nose around my face more than one occasion. But but like you say, when the pressure's on and he's in the fight, he can box. So he's very diverse. But he's been in with Conlon, Kelly, all of these guys, Abbas Barral, top names every week, and you have to learn how to adapt and overcome. And how he's been able to improve so drastically over that time is.
And being around fighters like that, even if you don't take notice, it seeps into you. I know they say like success breeds success, and it's that you're around it. You cannot but take notice, even if you don't think you are. You're learning things about how you plant your feet, how you move. You've got someone like Michael Condon who has superb footwork. How can you not pick that up just by whether you spar with them or not, just watching it, being around it. Adam Booth, the way he gets you in that wide stance, to bring more power into your shots, to push off your back foot and where to put yourself in position to do the right movements. It's all things you'll learn, but you'll learn more or just as much off the fighters around you than you do off your coach. We've seen that in gyms all over the world. The Wales, for instance, with Joe Kawasaki. Once he had success, There was a plethora of fighters who went through behind him. Nathan Cleverly and Gavin Rees and Enzo McAnally, though a different gym went to him in the end, and others at a domestic level as well. So if success breeds success, you learn off each other. And for him now, I think he's there, but I don't think you're going to see much of a change with Harlem. I think he has what he has in his locker to take him as far as he will go. At the end of the day, you get to the highest level, and it's all about small things that make a big difference. But he has that sugary Leonard influence. You can see that Leonard influence, the same shots, the movement, the stopping and flurrying. It's just what I grew up watching and falling in love with. So I'm a massive fan of Harlem for that. But again, it's what I talked earlier about. The touched earlier. It's not just it's not moving. It's where he moves and why he moves. There's a thought behind everything. It looks like he's just trying to get some space. But he's not. He's trying to make you miss, frustrate you, and then he turns close to the target. He can spin you. You got you on the ropes. He spins you round, and you're on the ropes, and he's in front of you, working away. There's smart movements that he makes, and I think there's been a massive improvement in the last few fights to make you start thinking he might be the one. It's still early to say yet, and
of course,
and we'll find out a bit more Friday. That'll be another step, but. There's encouraging signs. I can see why Chris Senior is excited about him.
And he's also a student of the game. And he's a very, very intelligent person outside of the ring. Just the way he approaches his training, and just the way he breaks down his style. You see when he does the weigh, and he does almost the karate stance. I don't see many other fighters doing that. And you touch upon the influence of the people around you in the gym. I mean, Michael Conlan, I could see the inspiration there. I mean, having been around that and benefit from that myself, I could just see how he would sort of not inspired, so to speak, from Conlan, but just how he seconded that mindset. Even when you're running the hills, try and beat Harlem on a hill. Trust me, it's not easy at all. He will just make sure he puts in every training session. And like you say, being a student of the game and having that environment, it's only gonna breed success.
There's something I just want to pick up on what you're both saying there. Is how comfortable he is in the ring. I see a lot of fighters and they have big power, or they know that they can rely on footwork or whatever, but they don't always look as comfortable in there because they're having pressure put on them and whatever else. But he seems very comfortable, always seems very comfortable. And I think that's what we're starting to see, even as the levels move up, even when he's troubled, even when he's illegally knocked down, as we saw a couple of times in Newcastle a few fights ago. He never seemed worried. He never seemed concerned. He always seemed like he was in control.
It's because he's had the proper apprenticeship. He's had those hard tests. They haven't been wars of attrition. We've had those hard little tests, those little markers where you go, if he doesn't get past this, then he's not going to be the fighter we think he might be. And he's got through them, so you learn from that. But also he knows how to. We're talking about dictating the pace, ring generalship, and you haven't got to be the aggressive fighter to have that. He understands that space between you and an opponent. That's the space you need to do. Whatever you're doing, that space there is most important. That's the only space you need to worry about. So he gets that distance right. When he does move away, he knows he's further. He takes that little step where he's far enough away to make you miss, but he knows he can come back with a shot. So he's never, even when you're trying to put pressure on him, he never really feels it because he knows that space there. He has control of it.
Just before we bring in our next guest, we're going to do that in a moment. One final thing on the senior Eubank Harlem link-up is, I think straight away, as soon as something we've never really seen from Harlem before, is right from that first media day, senior was saying, here's some names I want to see him, and he started throwing around Conor Benn, he started throwing around Josh Taylor, he started bringing up these other names, and we've not seen that from Harlem before. Do you think that's the dimension that Chris Senior wants to bring in? Because, okay, I know what he means when he says a similar fighter. I think he's talking about the heart more than the style. But outside the ring, he's going to make that noise, and he's going to do things that maybe Harlem doesn't do.
Yeah, absolutely. That would attract the big names. I mean, we've spoken to a couple of fighters, already with a humble nature, and it's getting yourself out there. It's pushing yourself. And if you can't do that, who better to have that than Chris Eubank, one of the most iconic boxers from this country, someone that always gets the headlines. So yeah, I mean, it's going to get those big names in. And Harlem's a fighter. He will want to fight those people. It's just how you go about that. So if you have someone like Eubank Senior, who is extremely influential, always will make a headline, then yeah, it's only going to help him get those big names and move on.
Well, one guest we do have waiting in the wings to come and join us is Adam Morale. Adam, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Bring your mic up. Let us see you on the camera, Adam. Very warm welcome to you here in Brighton. I say warm welcome. Yeah. Not the nicest of weather outside. A little windy down on the south coast. Listen, it's a huge night on Friday. Just run us through your thoughts of Friday night.
Yeah, look, I'm delighted that Larone's with Wasserman.
Of course,
he's got a promoter behind him. I think he's one of the top talents in this country at 168 pounds and 175 pounds. He hasn't really progressed since that Gongora performance in 2021. He's had a bit of time off, but now he's got a promoter behind him. He's got Channel 5, he's got Wasserman, and I'm excited what he can do at 168 and what he can do at 175, which I think is really thriving in the UK right now.
Lerone we had up here a moment ago, and we all picked up on it. We all already knew it of Lerone. He's so humbly spoken. He's so calmly spoken. We know what he can do in the ring. How big a statement would it be on Friday night if he comes in, stops it within the distance, makes that statement on a big platform, huge card, first fight with Wasserman? What would that do for him personally?
Look, I think it's what Lerone needs. I think his previous coaches, great coaches, Dave Coldwell, Al Smith. But I think with Grant Smith, he's got something a bit different. I think he had a run out in Leicester, and I think I saw a few new things there. I'm hoping we're seeing a slightly different Lerone Richards. You know, he can deal with pretty much most people. Like at 168, he was a huge problem for everyone in that division. And that Gongora fight showed the levels and the depths he's got. But is it exciting for people to go out there? That's what we need to show now. Lerone's not only brilliant, he's also exciting.
Barry, when you look at Lerone as a fighter, do you hear what Adam's saying, and do you think it's about time for him to show that?
I do, but it's one of those things where you want to you know the understanding you need to impress. You need to show yourself. You've got to take yourself out to the crowd and say, this is why you should watch me. I'm different to others. But you also can't lose what you got. So it's a hard mix. When you're not naturally aggressive or mentally naturally a guy who wants to walk right through people, then to change that mindset is quite hard. Now, maybe Grant Smith can do that, but you still have to remember what got you to where you are, which is the skills, which is the ability to make you miss and make you pay. That's important. It's just maybe just sitting down on your punches a little bit more, and when you make someone miss, stepping in beyond the shots a little bit more rather than just touching. I think that might be the issue maybe there, but I still think that you go too far the other way to try and be too, and then you end up getting caught yourself and unraveling, and that's the only risk. But I was going to ask about the weight, because I never really thought about 175 before, which is domestically massive.
Yeah.
But and fraught with danger by whatever you go by. It really is, isn't it? But I mean, is that the closer future at 175, or is that just an option you threw out there?
No, I think it's in the medium term.
Yeah.
I think Lerone wants to win a title at 168.
Yeah,
I think he has that about him. But I think at 175, I've seen Lerone spar Josh Buatsi. Like, he used to spar him in Al Smith's gym. Like, I think that's where people want to see domestic matchups. Yeah. And I think that's where they are. If you look at 168 now, which has historically been a great division here, it's like, okay, you've got John Ryder. Is Billy Joe coming back? Maybe he's coming back.
Not at 168.
Yeah, but I'm saying...
He's got Zach Parker as well.
He's got Zach Parker. We talked about that fight before. He got injured, but there's not a lot. It's not as sexy, is it, as 175 right now?
Well, 175 is a division with Lyndon Arthur on the Wasserman Box. Is a division
that's
we
like
know,
the obvious.
we know very, very well. But I mean, those names you mentioned, Josh Buatsi there. There's a whole host of names.
Yeah.
Is it risky? I'll go to Dan. Is it risky looking just over the fence and going, maybe the grass is a little greener over there?
Yeah, I guess in a sense. I mean, as you say, 168, there are the big names, and it is risky, because you're obviously moving up the top fighters and the bigger. But I guess in a sense, like, sometimes it takes the top fighters to bring that out of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like if you can get in, you don't necessarily want to change your style completely. If you're more of a defensive fighter, you don't necessarily want to go against the nature, your natural instinct. Adapt it, sit on your shots a little more. But I guess if you have someone that's a top fighter, there's a lot of interest, and they're really bringing it, it can force you to do those things under pressure and produce an exciting performance.
And that's where I think we'll see the best of Lerone in his career. I think we'll see the best when he's matched against the very best.
Yeah.
That's when you'll see it. When you see if Lerone's fighting someone, maybe, no disrespect to anyone a few levels below him, I think you find that the guys with that huge power, sometimes TV viewers don't like it because they think they're labouring to a performance, they're labouring to a decision. Whereas if you're in with someone, you put Lerone in with Bivol, just say, and he beats him, well, no one's going to be saying Lerone was boring, are they?
Yeah. No, well, that's it, yeah. And Bivol, to the same sense, not necessarily that he's boring, but like, you look when he went out and beat Canelo, like,
right.
he was someone that wasn't getting that.
Yeah.
Like those big fights, that huge attention, in the boxing world, knocking people out like Trent Broadhurst. But yeah, and then he goes out and beats Canelo, and everyone loves him. They love that sort of almost Soviet style in and out on your toes that's been criticised for being boring at times.
You'll see it if, as and when Lerone does get to the top, everyone will rave about all these things. Those same people were the ones this time saying, oh, it's just too boring.
But there are a few names that are already sort of like obviously Callum Smith and Boatsy and Aziz are going to fight, and also Anthony Yard, who sort of they're up there now, and maybe the money they're getting is going to be hard to entice them to fight you. But there's other really good fighters. There's Lyndon Arthur, which is a natural fight to make. World-class fighter. Craig Richards, who would be a bit of a really hard fight. Those fighters there, they're all really good fighters who can compete with everyone. But they all, those three, I'm putting their own in that mix now. They're all the three fighters who they need just a little lift to elevate them to get those big, the names maybe the top three, to force them to go, this is a marketable fight. Not a fight, they're all dangerous fights, but this is actually a marketable fight for you to make, because they're at the level now, especially Anthony Yard. He's made so much money, he's not fighting anyone unless it's close to 7 figures, I would feel, or at least 6 figures. So it's hard to make that match. But I think if you start, you got to pick each other off, pretty much. That's what it is.
Yeah. It's making yourself a nuisance.
It's winner stays on. That's what the way, which makes it fantastic. I mean, it's almost like an old-fashioned Don King heavyweight tournament. But, you know what I mean?
You see what other promoters are doing at the moment. And you've got, say, in the heavyweight division, you've got, Soldakers, Wardley, Fraser Clark. It's like a little 4-man tournament, and that the winner goes up.
I've come up with a great idea. I don't know if Wasserman would be interested. Do a tournament in a weight. Have they ever
I mean, the man.
Great idea, Barry.
you should speak to Callis Allen.
He never thought of anything like
no
this
one's
before.
thought of that before, no.
But domestically, you could almost do it, couldn't you? I mean, it would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I guess you have to kind of force the situations as well. If the big fights aren't happening, manipulate it into a sense where they will fight each other, and then we'll see who's the best. And even if you lose a big fight, it's not the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? It's getting in with a top opposition.
Absolutely.
As you say, even in a losing effort potentially, if you put on a good show, it's going to pump you up. So
boxing's a sport that's got to entertain the fans. You only entertain the fans by putting the best fights on.
Yeah.
But for realistic, for their own, though, you pick up a title 168, you move up to 175 then with already a step up. But I think for him, it's get back in, stay as busy as you could possibly be.
Yeah.
And I think his talent speaks for itself, and I think there will be opportunities for him, especially at 168. I think the next 12 months that division will start to open up more in the world, at the top of the world. I think it will start to open up, and I think
it has to, doesn't it? As soon as those Canelo belts move on, which they will at some point.
Yeah. Well, Benavidez is boxing Andre now at the end of November the 25th. And you just get yourself in or around that time then, and then there's an opportunity to box somebody. All of a sudden, then you go from being a guy who avoid it because you're too good, too much of a risk, but you're not a sellable fighter. That's what they would say about their own. To all of a sudden being a fighter who people are begging to fight.
Adam, before we let you go, because we're going to bring in some more Brighton heritage in just a moment, give us a rundown what happens on Friday night, specifically to Larone's fight. What kind of performance do we expect to see?
I think picking up on what the guys said, you're not going to see a totally different fighter. Lerone is make them miss, make them pay. I think you're going to see that early on, but I think you'll see him. What I want to see, and what I predict, is he'll go through the gears a bit more, and we'll see a more punishing Lerone Richards towards the mid-later rounds.
Punishing, I like it.
I like that. I like the sound of that. Listen, Adam, thank you so much. I'll let you catch up with Lerone. More dangerous towards the mid-later rounds. That's always the kind of fight we like to see. Let it cook a little bit.
Yeah.
Let it build up. The next people we're going to bring in, listen, we've spoke about it already. It's Brighton heritage today. Eubank, Schwarzkopf. You couldn't go back to Brighton, especially big-time boxing in Brighton, without the big guys coming in. Sorry, it's a little easy, it's a little cheesy, but of course, come on in, both Scott and Tommy Welsh. Welcome to you both. Let's hope, do we have a camera angle wide enough to fit everybody in?
There you go.
Cool, squeeze up.
Listen, fellas, thank you both for joining us. Tommy, start with yourself. What an opportunity this Friday.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's going to be, it's a fantastic opportunity. It's in my hometown. I get to perform in front of all of my people. I am Brighton. If you open me up, I'm blue and white. So, I can't wait to put a show on for everyone down here.
Can I just ask you very quickly, what were your feelings, what were your thoughts, what was the process when you were first told Harlem's going to be fighting in Brighton, we want you on the card as well? I mean, I'm guessing it was an easy decision, give me the paper and I'll sign it, but just talk us through that process.
I mean, if there's a show going on in Brighton, you can't really not have us on, let's be honest, you know what I mean? So, I've been itching to fight down here, so, Wasserman are putting the show on, and it makes sense to have an exciting heavyweight on the card as well.
Can I just say before we go on, and Barry, I will come straight to you. it's a little early for Christmas, although we are starting to see that now. But I love the jumper.
I don't know
is
about
it a Christmas jumper? Is it not? I'm not sure.
I don't know about a
love the
Christmas jumper.
Oh,
you know,
Marvin, is it?
It's Tyson.
Oh, it's Tyson.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
it's
Tyson.
Tyson at the South.
It's a heavyweight, isn't he?
It's a heavyweight thing.
I was going to say that it is important. I think for this show to sell well because for a heavyweight, it's easy to get beyond a heavyweight if he's good. He is good, but if you can get a back end of a crowd in Brighton, it becomes a fortress for him. It becomes a place to go. I think we don't do that anymore. I said earlier, they're always going to the big cities, and we're not going back to the 90s where you travel around to places where they'd have good fan base. And if Tommy can build a fan base here, then his rest of his career is here pretty much. I mean, you have to pay him to leave because you want to see him here. You want to see success. I think, and if the crowd can build with that, and by the way, all he needs is he lands in one big shot, and however many tickets you've sold now, the next time it doubles. Heavyweight's a different breed to the rest of us.
I mean, we haven't had regular shows here for so long now.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to get him back, get him seen, and like you say, get the crowd behind us and really build. So that's what we're
And
looking for.
also, Scott, with the backstory, I mean, at the end of the day, you do things on your own merit. Ultimately, in the end, you do like we all do. But I mean, with the backstory of your dad as well, it's people going about Eubanks all the time, but they're fantastic story.
The last person to win any major titles down here was
Exactly,
him.
yeah.
British and Commonwealth at the hotel next door against James Iaboli, and that was a great turnout. They were hanging off the roof, so I'm expecting the same for this show on Friday.
No pressure though, because you've got a dad there who was never in a boring fight, by the way. Never.
I don't think I've ever had a boring fight.
I was
Runs in
gonna
the
say
gym.
as well. One of the things we've been talking about just for the last hour is excitement. You know what I mean? Like changing your style to get get knockouts. You've got a big heavyweight here, exciting, big name, and he's going to bring knockouts. Like what more can you want, especially in Brighton?
Can I just ask, while we've got you both, what was it like for you growing up and seeing that? Okay.
Hard. It was tough,
He looks a softie. Yeah.
He is a softie.
You can say that. There's a man in between you.
You've only got to hear the stories, So no, he's a tough guy. He's and he was a great fighter in himself. And I've got a lot to live up to, but I don't do it for anyone else. I do it for myself, And I walk. My shoulders are big enough to take any pressure, and I'm my own man as well, And I fight on my own merit, and I have his full support. So we're here to do our job. His job is getting me in the ring and get me focused, and I'm in there to put my performance on and gain a victory.
He is a different guy before the build-up. So in the build-up, I like to get myself wired up. He likes to be cool, relaxed. I'm like, holy, let's get moving. He's like, no. So he does things differently, but it's the same kind of thing.
Is that difficult, Scott? Because
well, it's difficult. It is difficult.
not the training, but I mean to get because you wanted to be.
I mean, he does. He does. When I think since the hand, or straight after when he done the hand, that was quite a bad time.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with it. He's coming back, and I believe that now we're ready to show what he's done and where he is. He's showing it in the gym now, so this is where we get back on track.
I'm going to jump in on that because, of course it's different. I grew up with this game, I've had his knowledge behind me. I've grown, literally, I had gloves on before I had shoes on, I know nothing else. So me being calm before I know what I have to do to perform. It was new to him, and he started 19 years old, 18
my
years
first
old.
amateur,
I had my
For our
first,
generation, that's really late.
I was sparring at
Although
8
I was
years
in the
old.
gym,
I remember coming down over a decade ago. You were sparring Charlie Eastwood.
You remember them days.
I remember them
Charlie
days,
was a tough kid. He used to give me tough work, man.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's tough work from a young age. All of that experience goes into the pros.
I think I was 13.
Yeah.
I mean, we was rocking it out,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you guys were big at 13.
Yeah, 14 stone. Yeah. So.
Was he destined to become a boxer? Did you want him to become a boxer?
Well, it was rugby or boxing when he was about 11, 12 years old, and he was going to go the rugby route, and he kept getting injured. I think the last injury he had, he nearly pulled his shoulder out of the socket.
It's a rough game.
We had to.
It is a rough game.
Rugby's a rougher game.
We had to kind of pick one or the other, and he kind of went for the boxing side, and then we backed him. He did very well as an amateur in the juniors, and then then he was kind of in the seniors. He's still done very well in the seniors, but we had gaps in between. So, and then when he come back for the pros, listen, as he said, he knows the game inside out. He knows what's needed when we've got to do it, and hopefully he can show that now. He's at the experience now where he knows exactly what he's got to do, and hopefully from the last fight, this is where we put it right and keep moving forward.
It must kind of fill you with excitement, knowing that he's going to be this is a packed out house we're talking about on Friday. Your boy's going up there, following the footsteps, if you like. You know that he's going up there. You know what that feels like. You know what it's like to get the wraps on, get the gloves on, make the work. And now the next in line is going. You must be buzzing with that.
Listen, when you fight in front of your home crowd, I remember looking over the balcony of next door in the hotel on my night in 27th of October, 95.
You don't forget the date.
And I looked over, I come out, I was literally on in 5 minutes, and I looked over the balcony and the place was empty. And I thought, wow, nobody's come to see me. I walked back into the thing, and they obviously opened up the bars. And the doors, they got everyone out of the bars. And by the time I come out 5 minutes later, I could hear the noise. Anyway, I looked over the balcony. It was completely packed. And I was like, wow, here we go. And I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck go up. It was like an electric current running through me. And I just said, there's no way I'm losing here tonight. So you're going to get your extra strength. I believe boxing in your hometown definitely gives you extra strength. So hopefully with that in as well, then,
You're right, though. If we box down here again, we're going to have to get a bigger venue because we've packed this out, with thanks to the KSD guys, they've got a big company and they've bought the majority of them. I think, we couldn't fit any more in this place if we tried. So, looking forward to it.
Sorry, I was going to say, just hearing him talk about that, how does that make you feel knowing that you've got that coming up this Friday?
Yeah, we've done it as an amateur. I boxed here as an amateur, and that was always electric. I know, and to be honest, everywhere I've fought, I've always had a good fan turnout. So, I get a lot of support from my people, which I love, and I'm absolutely grateful for. But this time is different. It's special. It's Brighton, and I just want to do my performance.
You mentioned about you're your own man, and that's great to hear, of course, but. You see that in your style. You don't really box anything like your dad did. Was that a purposeful? Did you go out and want to be different, or is that just a natural?
It depends what fights you've seen.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying you haven't got it in you.
No.
That's it's in head. I've seen that as well.
I think he was more of a brawler, and he's taught me the art of boxing as well. So everything he learned at the end, by the end of his career, he's instilled in me, and we make it easier by what he's taught me. When he was coming through the ranks, he was still learning, and so with his experience, he's given me the fundamentals to make an easier job out of my work, I would say. So I can box and I can brawl. Because the brawling will just come out of us, because it's in us, and I think there's a time and a place for that, and box first, fight second, as you all know.
I got to ask you. You say cut you, and you're blue and white in the middle. You're a seagull man. Is the Amex the goal? Is that the ultimate goal one day?
Absolutely, for a title there for sure. And like we're saying about the heavyweights, we draw in good crowds. And I think Chris Billam-Smith has done it down in Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I want to do it down in Brighton, So absolutely, the Amex is the main goal, for sure.
What I love about this sport is, at the start of careers, these things seem like a million miles away. They seem unrealistically far away. But at some point, you've got to, if this is going to happen, I've got to take the step, and this is a legitimate step on that path.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Speak it to existence, believe in what you're doing, and you can make anything happen. That's what I've always believed, and I've always done what I've set out to do, and I'm here today talking in front of you guys, and on Friday I get to fight there. It was a dream I had. My old man sometimes didn't believe I was going to do it, and and I'm here, and I've made it happen, and I believe with my mind, my mental strength, as well as his mental strength, together we've created this path, and I'm going to walk down it happily.
Speaking of paths, what routes Are you aiming for a route? Or are you just fighting and then whatever comes your way?
There's always routes, absolutely.
Are you aiming sort of like the English Solomon Dakers type route and then
for
towards
sure.
the Wardies, or are you looking
I think we,
to international and move on?
There's also another path for us as well. You know, the Bridgerweight looks quite an opening for us as well. You know, so there's two paths for us. There's the Bridgerweight there, and there's the heavyweight. So
Well, that's a quick route to a world title, isn't it?
that's right. Yeah.
well,
Badu Jack has just entered the Bridgerweights, I think.
yeah. So I think that having the two different things there is quite good. I mean, listen, you know, it's still a tough route. I mean, if we do fight in the bridges, we'll still fight in the heavies anyway.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So, you know,
We're heavyweights. It's a nice thing that I can cut a little bit of weight down. I mean, I'm around that
you do
weight
that? Is that
now.
okay?
I'm already there, so you know, yeah. So on to the next one, and let's see what the future holds.
Juggling balls everywhere you're at the minute. That's not a bad place to be. It's great to have all those options actually. But yeah, I was just thinking about if you're going to go, because I think domestically we have some really exciting fights.
Listen, don't get me wrong. I would love nothing more than to fight for the British title. There's never been in history a heavyweight father and son winning a British title, and I could create history by doing so. So, yeah, I would like to. I would like to win. The British is a main priority for me, definitely.
I just very quickly got to ask you what happens on Friday night. Ask a silly question, but what happens on Friday night?
Listen, I've got an undefeated kid. He's going to come. I'm sure he's going to bring his A game. He doesn't want to lose his O. I've prepared for a tough 8-round fight against a tough Argentinian, and as we all know, you know, they've got a reputation of being tough guys. I'm looking forward to it. My main thing is to just perform. Get in there, and whatever happens, get in there and perform at my best, and the outcome will be what it will be.
That's confidence, like I've seen. Fellas, thank you both very much for joining us. We'll
Thank
see you
you
in the ring in the action on Friday night. What a card it is coming this Friday. The Bloodline card, topped, of course, by Eubank Schwarzkopf, but it's Brighton royalty. It's the heritage that's coming through. There is one man, though, that's coming to spoil the party. Timo Schwarzkopf is not looking to roll over lightly. He's here to not let Harlem Eubank enjoy that. And he joins us now. Timo, the man who looked at me the first time we met and said, Harlem's made a mistake. Shouldn't have had me here. Timo, good afternoon. How you feeling?
I feel very good. And I'm happy to be here. And yes, the fight is coming.
The fight is coming. I mean, it's Barry, it's one of these few words, but they sit with you.
Yeah, they do. Well, that's his style, really. You know, he's a man who, you know, even in his losses, will not take a step back. He'll put pressure on you. He'll make you work. He can box, you know, really well. But ultimately, he'll put, like I did. I commentated in a fight with Jack Catterall, and you gave Jack Catterall, who's now a world-class fighter, all the trouble in the world in some really uncomfortable rounds. Do you think that you can take Harlem to a place that he hasn't been before?
Yes, I fight much opponents. He was very strong and world class, and maybe we see is Harlem in this step for the world class or not, and we look for the fight. Yeah.
Is your plan to just put pressure on Harlem?
My plan is I don't want just pressure, and I not search the knockout, but I train very hard for boxing. I want to tell the people that I can box and I can fight, and then we can. I want to win not just with knockout. I want to win with points.
And how important do you think your experience is going into this fight with someone like Harlem, who is experienced, but is sort of on the way up? It's a big test for him. You've boxed top fighters, Catterall, Vasquez. You've boxed lots of tough fighters.
Yeah, this is very important for this fight. My experience is very high. I train with much good people, much sparring with big guys, with Dimitrius Andrade, with Selçuk Aydin. I make sparring with big guys. In my
class is this again?
The wrong guy.
In my career, I started with 18 professional, and I see very much in this sport. and I'm ready. I'm ready for everything what happened in the ring. I'm ready now to die in the ring. Yes.
Timo,
we hope not, but yeah.
certainly hope not. But listen, Timo, on Friday you're going to be the man that walks out to the booze. You're going to be the man that the crowd want to see lose. You're going in against the hometown favourite. What does that do to your mental state before you make the ring walk, hearing your name be announced to a chorus of boos?
Yes, this is for me. It's okay. It's I want my goal is when I go to ring, I have boots, okay. But when I go outside the ring, then people love me.
Flip the script.
Yes.
Will that help you? The crowd against you?
Yes.
Will that give you a bit more?
Give me more.
Yeah.
This is aggressive sport. Yeah. This is not. This is not football or table tennis. Yeah, this is, and if you very aggressive, when I go to the ring, I am very aggressive.
Yeah.
And again, it's that experience. He's been there, he's seen it, he's done it. So it's nothing new to him.
Absolutely. Listen, Timo, we're going to let you go because I think we're just getting ready to kick off the press conference and the face-to-face up on the stage. Thank you very much for joining us.
You.
We're going to let you make your way up to the front stage. But what an event. And listen, Timo has been very friendly, very calm throughout, but then you hear him say things like this. Oh, I'm going to be walking out to booze, but I'm ready to... I'm not going to repeat what he said, but I'm ready to lose this way in the ring. This motivates me. This is not table tennis. This is a guy here. He's not here just to make up the numbers.
Yeah, and we've seen it. That's why he's such a tough test, because he has proven this before time and time again. It's why it's such a good fight for Harlem at this stage. You don't need to be braggadocious and out there and getting in your opponent's face. Ultimately, it's what happens in the ring, and we know that he's done it before, and we expect him to do it again.
I love that mentality, Barry. I love it.
Yeah, but it's not the first time he's been the away fighter, and he has a vast of experience, so he'll know what he's up against. He'll know it's going to be a difficult night because you've got to try and stop the movement of Harlem Eubank. He'll feel he can do that because he's physically strong, and he'll feel that the weight of his shots might slow him down, but I don't think he'll get frustrated when he is having to chase shadows, which is inevitably what, certainly in the early rounds, he's going to have to do. But he's going to bank on that. His physical presence, the energy in his work, the constant pressure will somehow slow Eubank down enough that he has to engage.
Especially having fought someone as tricky as a Jack Catterall, for instance. He's gone the full distance, he's durable, never been stopped. So, yeah, I think we know he's going to bring it as long as the fight goes.
Well, I think you can probably tell by the fact that the room has gone silent despite being the busiest we've seen it all day. The main event is about to kick off. The fighters, the promoters are on the main stage. We're going to throw now to Phil to lead us on the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. A big turnout for a big night of Boxing Live on Channel 5 at the Brighton Centre. Harlem Eubank against Timo Schwarzkopf, WBO global title on the line. But of course, this is a huge homecoming, an emotionally charged evening in store, set against the backdrop of an electric atmosphere. We'll speak to each of the guys on stage, but just introductions. Timo Schwarzkopf to my immediate right, Nissa Sauerland of Wasserman Boxing, Harlem Eubank unbeaten 18-0 pro, and of course, boxing royalty, Mr. Chris Eubank Sr. Afternoon, gents. Thank you very much. And Nissa, we'll start with you. And a great night in store. I think everybody involved is extremely excited about what could happen on Friday night. Brighton boxing is back, and there's a buzz we can tell in the city already.
Yeah, for sure. This is Harlem's coming out party. Massive night. Great to be back. Brighton's needed a boxing event. Hasn't been one for a very long time. Tickets have gone unbelievably well. We've only got, I think, 20 tickets left, so we're looking to release a few more. So yeah, expect a great night. Harlem's obviously got a big step up in opponent. WBO global title, top 10 if he wins that fight. And this is his coming out party, hopefully.
Harlem, so much in the build-up, so much excitement, so much anticipation, incredible hard work from yourself. You've talked about the levels going up in the gym. Just tell us, 2 days out now, how are you feeling?
I feel great. I feel ready to put on a statement performance. My preparation's been, better than ever. And, I think most of the talking's done now. I'm really ready to just go in there and put on the display that I've prepared to do.
And I know it may be difficult to put into words at this stage, but when you've considered and thought about how it might be on Friday in front of your people, in front of Brighton fans. That walkout and that moment, it's going to be extra special, isn't it?
It's going to be, it's going to be massive. It's the homecoming I've wanted for a long time, and I've earned it now. I fought away, headlined in different locations, and now I can bring it back home for my city, embrace my home crowd and the people I grew up with, and put on a statement performance in there.
Chris, statement performance, Harlem predicts, and just give us your thoughts and how excited and level of anticipation you're feeling for Friday evening.
Well, gentlemen, if there are any ladies, I'm excited. I am fascinated with his ability to box. I'm not really the showman that everyone speaks about. I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior, and I get switched on when I see someone who has that ability. And his ability is sensational. Okay, now, let me just kind of show you how excited I am. I've tried not to speak to him for the last 4 or 5 days, and I haven't spoken to him. But there's so many things I want to tell him because he reminds me so much of the Sugar, Sugar Ray Leonard. He's sweet, he moves beautifully. And, I've had it in my chest. I've had that hot air in my chest to tell him about one of these moves I've seen Sugar Ray Leonard do, and if he can do it, he'll just light the world up. And it's, do you remember the fight where Leonard fought Hagler, and Hagler backed him up into that corner, and he threw about, he must have thrown about 35 punches. This is what I want you to do. When someone corners you and puts the pressure on you, and that's the wonderful thing about Harlem, he's just a sweet boxer, a beautifully sweet boxer. But if you back him up into a corner, you are in trouble. So as you can see, I am, energized by this talent here. Because obviously over the years, the bar has been set too low. This is going to be the new bar. I think I'm taking a little bit too much time, but if I can go on,
please.
You sure?
Absolutely.
No, I don't want to hug. I don't want to hug the.
As long as you like.
Well, Timo can have a.
We have time.
You can please.
Timo,
always time for a legend.
Let's bring Timo, and we'll come back to you, Chris. Timo, you've said in the build-up when we came to Brighton last month that you respect Harlem. He's a good boxer, you said, but you also said you will be his toughest opponent. He's not fought anybody at your level. Can you explain?
Yes, he's very good. He's a good fighter. But we will see if he fight really a warrior like Chris Eubank Senior. I look very much fights from him, and I learn as a kid, learn from this fights.
Oh wow! Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and I am the same warrior like him.
Well,
and we look. Is the small Eubank is he so strong?
You're going to test Harlem's strength and test how good he is.
Yes, I will test everything in his body, in his head, everything I test in this fight.
Because your last fight, for people who may not know, was Miguel Vasquez. You've also fought Junior Witter, Jack Cattrall. You took to points in a distance fight. So do you feel you've got an advantage because of your experience?
Yes, I'm very experienced. I am 14 years professional, and I see in my life very much, and I see very big guys and sparring and fights. And this is a good fight, but I come here to win. I not come here for make show. I want this fight, and I wait very long time for this moment and this chance, and I train very hard, and I look my chance.
Harlem, just want to bring you back in. Timo, clearly very confident. He's coming to win. Is that music to your ears, that you've got a game, extremely confident, experienced opponent, your toughest test, you've said so far of your career? Is that what you want to hear 2 days before the fight?
Most definitely. We know what Timo brings. We know what he's capable of. We know what level he's fought at. And that is exactly the type of challenge that I want. That's the type of challenge that I've earned, and one that we're prepared for. We're diligently prepared for this. This is going to be my moment, my biggest test yet in Timo. You know, he's been in there with some of the top fighters in the world, and that's where we're at now. We want to put myself in position for world title shots, and this is exactly the type of challenge that I'm up for.
And Harlem, something you said to me a couple of weeks ago was every facet and every aspect of training has gone up levels. Can you explain to people what you mean by that exactly?
Just everything, the rounds of sparring, you know, I've been more intense, more rounds. Everything's just been more grueling. You know, I've been eat, sleep, you know, repeat, train, repeat, giving it everything. Every ounce of energy's gone up, you know. I couldn't give any more, so I'm just prepared for anything that can happen in that ring. You know, I'm prepared to come out on top fighting that.
Chris, when you think back to when you boxed in Brighton in the early 1990s, you said you felt energised. Is it a different type of energy today than it was in the 1990s when you were preparing to go into combat, as opposed to now being side by side with Harlem?
I mean, I'm here, but I'm not here to speak about me. I'm here to speak about the man. Okay, so, you know, his ability. Now, I've watched Timo. Now, you know, when I say that I'm an expert in this boxing, I'm not just an expert. I'm a philosopher. I'm a scientist. I'm a seeker. I seek. You know, so on the night, you know, I've watched Timo, and however you may see him, if you see him as a very good fighter, I would say this to you. What you're going to see Harlem show is he'll nullify everything he does, because you can't fight if you can't hit what you can't see. His foot movement and his ring craft is, it puts the heavyweights to shame. You know, you can see the 11 years he's been in this. Yeah, he's learned the art and he knows it now. He's not looking at it like, I'm still learning, because I've listened to the interviews he's done over the years. You know, I'm still learning, back in the gym. He fights on a Saturday night, he's back in the gym on Monday. He's not talking that way anymore. He's learned, now he's ready. So that's where the conversation of 147 comes in, because this is his last fight at 140. Because in my view, you know, it's 2 fights he's got to fight. One is the weight, and the second is the fight. The easier, no disrespect to Timo, but the easier part of this project, the easier part will be Timo, because to lose the weight, he's got 10 pounds to lose. 10 pounds. Now, no one pays much attention to that. That is, it makes me emotional. You know how hard it is to lose 10 pounds when you don't have an ounce of fat on you? That's his real fight. When he gets into the ring, you know, as I've explained to him, you don't just knock him out. You don't just try to land that right hand. What you do is you show the world what you've learned over the last 11 years. You know, let them see the artistry. Let me see the artistry, the foot movement. Let me see the hand speed. Let me see that jab, the fast jab, the double jab. Behind the first jab is the ramrod jab. Let me see those skill sets. So, you know, the reason you see me energized is because I'm excited about someone who can actually do it properly, not the talk. You got these guys today in boxing who, they have a big talk And people are all interested because of their talk. I don't look at talk. I'm not listening to talk. To me, that only shows that you're full of hot air. I'm looking for ability. Can you move around that terrain? The terrain which is, can you move around it? Can you manipulate it? You know, can you bamboozle your opponent? Can you put on a show for the people and not just waste him away? And again, you know me. I'm honest to the core. I wouldn't tell you something, I wouldn't back something if it wasn't real. And and let me say this. You know, if you've ever heard him use bad language, show me, because I'll be going elsewhere. I don't deal with people who use bad language. I don't use people who I don't deal with people who use threats, who are aggressive, who show what warriors are not. Behaving like a tosspot, I don't deal with that. Tosspot, what a beautiful word. I don't deal with that. I deal with warriors. Okay? So, you know, we're humble. We are creatures of irony, for our genuine task is to ensure peace. We're peculiar characters. We'll give our lives in the ring. Well, the real ones will give their lives in the ring, but the pretenders say, oh, I've had enough. You know, let me tell you something about this man. He has a trainer called Charlie. Charlie's a fireman. Yeah? You know, there's no coincidence with this, that he's a fireman. What does a fireman do? Charlie, he goes into the fire and rescues what he needs to rescue and comes out. If anyone backs him up, Harlem, if anyone backs him up in the ring, if they put him down, he's going to get up and walk back into the fire. That's what I pay for. That's value for money. Not, you know, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do that to you. Let me kick this table over, let me show I'm angry. You know, back in, when I was a teenager, there was a character called Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks. Do you remember these characters? Yeah. Okay. So every Saturday you'd have on ITV, you'd have them, you know, it's the big fight again. Even my dad was fascinated by these guys because he thought it was real, but it was choreographed. Okay, and that's what we see nowadays. So, am I going to get behind someone who's just the hot air? No, you know I'm not going to do that. I'm all integrity. I'm all warrior. All. I don't have it. I don't know anything else. So with that trainer in Charlie, projecting what he's me. He protects and serves. He serves the people. He protects the people. So again, when there's a fire, he runs into it. Me, I trust him. When I was put down in fights, I couldn't win. Exhausted, having absolutely nothing left in me, I got up and walked back into the fire. That's what I do. And that's what I teach. And that's who you're looking at here. So, you know, Connor, you know, you're looking at the man here who isn't, you know, he isn't aggressive. You know, he isn't, he doesn't bark. You and your dad, you bark. Okay, fine, okay. I was sweet back then and I beat his dad, and I say at 147 the right weight. I say at 147, Connor, this man beats you. And he beats you sweetly without having to growl and foam at the mouth. Have I said too much?
Chris, we'll leave it there because I know everybody in the room wants to speak to you as well. But no, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
So Friday night live on Channel 5, Bloodline, Harlem Eubank versus Timo Schwarzkopf in association with Ladbrokes. But customary to get everybody's prediction before we pose for head-to-head pitches. Timo, what is your prediction for the fight? How do you think it will go?
I am here to win, and I don't know the fight is gone. We see.
But you are very confident, aren't you?
Yes, I'm very fit. and I have very hard training. I'm ready to die in the ring.
Nissa, what sort of performance are you expecting from Harlem on Friday?
Like I said, I hope this is his coming out party. It's a step up for Harlem. I see it going late in the rounds, but I believe Harlem will be victorious.
And Harlem, last word to yourself. How do you see the fight going on Friday?
A beautiful performance. Display the art form that I have been learning for the last 11 years and bring it home for my people.
We all can't wait. Friday, 10 p.m. on Channel 5. It is Bloodline, Harlem Eubank versus Timo Schwarzkopf. We will now pose for head-to-head pictures and then break for further interviews. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you.
I feel for you because I know what it's like to be sitting here now. I need to do this.
Well, we saw there Harlem Eubank and Timo Schwarzkopf. They had a few words for one another before going face to face. Harlem, Timo, neither of them stepping back, neither of them saying they're taking their opponent lightly. Chris Eubank Sr., of course, applying some words as well. Harlem joins us now. Harlem, up on the stage there. For a start, good afternoon. Thank you for having us in Brighton. You were up on the stage there with Timo. How did it feel looking at him eye to eye?
We know what is his game. He's coming to win. He's fought at a very high level. He's fought on the world stage, and that's where I'm heading to. And it's an obstacle, a very worthy obstacle that I'm going to overcome on fight night.
We spoke to him just before you went up on the live stage there, and we said, "Look, you're the out of town fighter. You're going to be coming into a chorus of boos." He said, "I've heard it all before. I've heard all this before. I can do all this again." He even spoke about sparring super middleweights. He's come prepared. Does that play in your mind at all? The fact that he has seen this before?
We know he's seen it before. That's irrelevant. He hasn't fought me before, and we've all been sparring people with different weight classes. I'm ready for anything that he's going to bring. And yeah, I'm looking forward to putting on a display.
It feels like stylistically, his style will complement what you're good at. The moving, plant your feet, the flurry combinations, and spinning around the target. Do you feel that this is the fight that you, without putting more pressure on you, the fight that you need to perform to do so your boxing shouts out for you for the next big step, which is surely imminent?
I think his style. I think he can. He knows how to fight. He brings it till the final bell. He's a warrior, and
but ultimately he's coming at you, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm prepared for. I'm prepared to box if I need to box, fight if I need to fight, and cover all angles. This is boxing. It's the fight game. We need to be able to do everything, and that's what I'm prepared for.
And talking about covering all angles, like I heard you mention the Sugar Ray Leonard influence, which is something that I've spoke to you about in the gym and seen. But I almost, whenever I would spar with you, I'd have like a Henry Armstrong approach coming at me, very physical, very strong. And I think moving up to 147, that will also benefit you, that physical strength and that just relentless intensity. And I also think the fact that we see more in fights the silky skills, and I've seen it in sparring myself, but that relentless pressure, being able to do both, I think is going to stand you in such good stead in the future.
Have you ever sparred with Conor?
No.
Okay, well, I mean, what do you make of that fight?
The Conor Ben and Harlem fight.
Yes.
Interesting.
Well, it's the right weight. It's 147, 147.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, when you're fighting two weights, someone who's two weights above you, that's not only criminal, it's reckless, and that has to stop. And this can be the time to stop it. You've got to stop it with action, not with words. Okay. So that's who we're calling out. Yeah. You get your license, get back on track.
Chris,
this is Conor. Yeah.
Chris, I've got to ask. I mean, I love the talk of Harlem going fighting these big names in the division. Is there a risk that we're overlooking Timo Schwarzkopf by looking at the Conor Benns out there? How serious a threat is the man in front of us, Timo Schwarzkopf?
Everyone's a threat if you haven't done the work. If you haven't done the work, then like other people have experienced, when you think you can just do it because you've been in the gym for another fight, and you're fit, you think, no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all, no. We don't overlook him. I'm just very confident, which is why I have this self-esteem about Harlem as I do. Don't make it a hard fight where you're going into a fight. Just show your boxing skills. Entertain me for 12 rounds. Entertain me for 12 rounds. I don't want to see you take him out. Show me and show the world what you can do with those feet and those hands, which are super lightning fast.
I think you've got the balance right. I think we were talking before you came here about how your apprenticeship has been steep, but the right moves. I think lockdown, you were one of the few fighters that benefited from that. That Ebeniki fight, where you box. I think you showed you look different in that fight. So some of the fights I covered before that fight you look different. You were a more rounded boxer than ever before. I think you've got the balance right with the movement and knowing why you're moving. I think the movement's great, but with no end product behind it, it's just wasted energy. I think you've got it right where you're holding your feet enough to land the shots, but always looking to get an escape route or spinning off the ropes, which you're doing really well recently. Do you feel that those attributes will take you to the next step, which is, I presume, you're looking for world honours after this or close to that? Do you feel you're there or thereabouts for that now?
Most definitely. I think I've done my apprenticeship. Like you say, I've done it the hard way. I've done it the original way.
Yeah.
I worked my way from the bottom, and I'm sitting here at 18-0, focused on the challenge in front of me. But I believe that I'm ready for them world title shots, and that's what I want after this. I'm fully focused on the job at hand. In Timo this weekend, we know what he brings. He's fought on that world stage already, and now I'm ready to prove where I'm at and display the craft.
Would that be a super lightweight? Is that what you're not sure? Are you going to go move up to welterweight? Or?
It could be 147 after this.
Okay, so this is just an option for you to stay or move.
Sorry, there's no ambiguity about this. It's 147.
That's the next step.
Most certainly.
Yeah, sure.
He's having two fights. One the weight and two the fighter. Okay, so that's not happening anymore. 147, and who we're concentrating on again is Conor. So why is he talking about Conor Benn? Because he's now 147 after this fight. And I'm not dismissing Timo. Okay, I just know what a brilliant fighter he is, and I know if he boxes him, it'll be a show for the people, a beautiful show. Because when it comes to skill sets, Timo's not going to even get close to him. Well, now watch what I say.
But plus the welterweight division is like very shortly going to be a free for all, because Terence Crawford is more likely to move up. Those belts will fragment. You've got Jaron Ennis, of course, who's probably the top of the queue there, but there are other fighters. Josh Taylor's moving up. You would feel.
Sorry,
you're just Conor Benn, aren't you?
That's right. I'm just Conor Benn.
But he doesn't have a license yet, so we're talking about a guy who's not allowed to box.
So let me ask you a question. Can you tell him and his father that you have to actually obey the rules of the British Boxing Board of Control? Robert Smith is real. You have to abide by the rules of the BBBOC. Can you tell Conor? Can you tell his dad? If you look at the camera, because otherwise it can't go on. And if it does go on, it's illegal. That's why they may be trying to pull the fight out of the country. And in so doing, destroying the careers of, well, certainly Conor. He should be at 147 concentrating on the Americas, and he can clean up here, but he should be concentrating on the Americas. But somebody has him thinking only about junior. That's gone. That's not for you. It's the wrong weight. Okay? Help Conor Benn get on with his own career rather than looking at one fantasy fight. He's given up so much in time, and still he doesn't have his license. Who is actually looking after him? Who is giving him this advice? Whoever it is reckless and is running amok.
I can appreciate, Chris, that for financially and also for your profile, that's the fight.
I'm not looking. I'm not even looking at that.
Not for you, but I think he has to think about his next move, about who's available. And at the minute, Conor is not available.
We are making him available. That's why. Listen. If you don't talk, it doesn't happen.
No, it's true. It's true.
He's ready. So be ready at the right weight. These people are trying to bring my son back into this fight. Let me tell you, even for Junior to get down to 160 now is almost impossible, as proven when he got down to 159 for this fiasco that didn't happen. It was boycotted because it was right to be boycotted. 147 fights 147. And the reason I'm speaking it is because if you don't speak it, it cannot come into existence. So that's the fight for him. They built it, and now I'm going to produce it. Channel 5 will produce it.
Is that going to be next after this fight, or would you look to take a fight sort of just to almost just move up to the weight, see how you get on at 147?
No.
Or is that what you want next?
No, you're talking to him. He doesn't want to talk. He wants to fight. So I talk on his behalf. Okay. Now people may say, well, come and let the man talk. No. No. He doesn't need to talk. He wants to fight. He's done enough talking. He's 18 fights. He's 18 fights unbeaten. He's tired of talking. That's why he's brought me on board, to speak what needs to be heard. So it's for me to teach them what they need to know. Conor, you're wrong. Okay, you've got to stay at 147, not move up. They're destroying your career. How long has he been out of the ring now? How long was he out of the ring before he fought at this 154? They're wasting his time and his life. They're wasting his time, and his time is his life. All the public are interested in is Eubank against Ben, or Ben against Eubank. Whoever it is, it doesn't matter, and it happens to be this man now. So hogging it, I don't apologize for hogging this microphone. The time is good. We're not thinking about others at 147 because he's here in Britain. They've built the fight. Well, you know what? Now we're going to finish it.
Well, Harlem, I got to say, it seems a path has been laid out for you. But
yes.
Of course, there is a step to take before that can happen. It's this Friday. It's live on Channel 5. It's back in Brighton. Can I just get a quick word about how excited you are to bring the boxing back to Brighton?
It's amazing. It's written in the stars. My uncle Chris boxed his first defence here in 23rd of February 1991. 3 years later, on the same date I was born, my birthday, and now I'm here 32 years later, headlining at the Brighton Centre. It's an honour, and I'm looking forward to the task at hand and producing a career best performance on Friday.
And I just wanted to ask, having known you for the last 2 years and seeing how your career has developed, how does it feel now for you personally, getting that exposure, getting the terrestrial telly, obviously getting the big fights mentioned? You've done this the hard way. You've taken lots of tests. How does it feel now to be getting that big promotion?
Feels good. I've earned it every step. I haven't been handed anything in this sport. I've gone out there and I've took it. And 18 fights in, I'm ready now.
Well, Harlem Eubank, we look forward to seeing it this Friday. We're back in Brighton. The Eubank's in Brighton. The name is Bloodline. We can't wait to see it. Like you say, the Brighton Centre this Friday on Channel 5 in association with Ladbrokes. Wasserman Boxing is coming to you. And as Chris Eubank says himself, the main man is here, Harlem Eubank. We can't wait. We'll see you there.
King!
The last person to fight there was my uncle 30 years ago. On the day I was born, 3 years before the day I was born, on the same day. Like I said before, this feels like destiny. It's a bucket list moment for me to bring a fight like this back home and put on a display in front of my people of the South Coast.
Eubank, Brighton. Doesn't scare me.
We're coming to Brighton.
It's my hometown.